with other applications, other variances that were granted besides in front. So
Yeah,
you mentioned
two.
Okay, I haven't seen any.
Okay.
Well, you know what, he had one, and he gave it to Bridget for the
I had actually two of them, which I gave to Bridget. And they were both basically cases where there was no rear yard in which to put the pool.
And the one I believe was on gripping with the sport court, you know.
And then the sports court, I can make that, I
Okay.
can bring that next time.
Okay.
Because that was my case also.
No, I'm just wondering, Joe, I immediately asked for, can we minimize the pool is 40 feet, is that a standard pool?
I'll ask them about that too.
Yeah.
It's 16 wide, my understanding is 16 by 32.
Yeah, 16 by 32.
It's usually 20 by 40 or 16 by 32,
Right.
so.
32 is the minimum. I mean, you can go smaller, but
All right, so we can, I'll talk to them about that, I'll recommend that to them, so that we can minimize the entire
Okay,
impact. Then I'll talk to them about these two alternatives,
we'll see how
and
we
we'll
do.
come, and I'll get something back to you.
the problem with this has so many implications, you know, further on down the road. That's the problem
Yeah.
with something like this.
Yes, it is,
What will make the uniqueness of the
the
project?
uniqueness is that there's no rear yard in which to place this structure. And it's a typical structure. It's not an untypical structure in this neighborhood or in this village. And in other similarly situated circumstances, this board is agree with that.
Bring them on.
Okay.
Bring them on.
I'll be happy to
Bring
do
it
that.
up. Anybody else, this hearing is going to go over to next month. Is there anybody in the audience that does have any input on this one? No. Okay, so I'll make a motion that we hold this over for all purposes.
Second, yeah.
So we have a second by Frank.
All right.
In favor? Aye.
Jim, to rectify that, not having the variance, should Jim refile the application with those checked off and the dates and everything before?
Yeah, and I gave him a copy of the variance, make it easy for him. Thanks to you, Paul, and help with that. There you go. Okay. Well, that's all the time we have tonight. Number 7 on our agenda is Empire Custom Homes LLC, 52 Hazelwood Avenue. The applicant requests the following variance to construct a new dwelling unit on a swimming pool. Front yard setback is proposed at 30 foot 5 inches from 197B of the village code requires 40 feet. The radius setback is proposed at 18. Chapter 197D requires 40 feet. The swimming pool is not located in the rear yard as required by 19735A, and the property is located in the R4 zoning district.
For the applicant, James M. Hill, 323 Mill Road, West Hampton Beach. As indicated in the reading of the notice, this is a property located at 52A Hazelwood Avenue, which actually fronts on something known as Morris Court, which is a little road perpendicular to Hazelwood Avenue. The property is located in the R4 zoning district. My clients purchased the property in August of this year. It's an 18,000 square foot lot. This lot was created by a subdivision that took place in 2008. At that time, the zoning code described a street as being 50 feet wide, and this street is not 50 feet wide, so there was a variance granted to allow the subdivision to go forward. But I believe there was also an expectation as part of that this lot, since it didn't front on the street, would be treated as a flag lot, and it would, when determining setbacks and things like that. And as we'll talk about in a minute, this level of construction, and maybe even a little bit more, would be possible without any variances at all if it were treated as a flag lot, with the front lot line being the eastern property line. However, in 2016, the definition of street was changed from 50 feet to 20 feet. So all of a sudden, Morris Court, which had not been considered a street under the village code, became a street, and therefore, based on its identity as a street, that's where the front yard was.
When was that changed?
2016. Yes, 2016. Yeah.
Who owns it?
It's a good question.
Is it a center line ownership?
No, it's, I think it's a vestige of the original subdivision, and the title was never transferred out. But other than the width, it met the definition of a street under the old code, and now with the reduced width, it meets on all fours the definition of a street, which is, and this is a long, narrow property, and so it makes it difficult to, using Morris Court as the front yard, as the front lot line, you end up with a very narrow house if you meet we've got a 100-foot wide width, and you have a 40-foot front yard and a 40-foot rear yard. That leaves you 20 feet of width for the building envelope. So you end up with a very narrow, very long building envelope, which would drive to an odd-looking house, I think.
So, I'm sorry, what's the front of the house then? What's it facing?
It's facing Morris Court, so under the current code, Morris Court is a street under the village code, and therefore the property line along Morris Court is the front yard. But in order to do something that meets the front and rear yard setbacks, you only end up with a 20-foot wide building envelope. Now, the building envelope could be quite long, but you'd end up with a very long, very narrow structure with a lap pool behind it, or something of that nature. However, I think that the spirit, if not the intent, when the property was originally subdivided, based on what the law was, that the owner of this lot would be able to choose which is the front lot line and which is therefore the rear, et cetera, et cetera. So if that were the case, and we chose the westernmost property line as the front lot line, we would immediately reduce, with this development, we would immediately reduce it from 3 variances to 1 variance. And if we slid the house back 10 feet, we would eliminate that variance as well. So I think that's the way that this property was intended to be developed. But the law changed, and that brings us here to seek the variances that we're seeking, a front yard and a rear yard. And because Morris Court became a street where the pool that would have been a rear yard is now a side yard.
Yeah, these are those little roads down there in Hazel, which is kind of tucked away in there.
Correct. Which makes the whole thing unique.
It is unique, but I'm looking at this aerial photo, and putting a rear yard is only going to be 18 feet. The house is going to be 18 feet from the rear yard. Isn't that going to have kind of a big impact on the house to the north? Who's going to be on, what is that?
That where it is.
Ligon Lane.
Ligon Lane.
Well, we can move the
You know what I'm
house.
saying?
We can move the house forward.
Here's my initial thing. You're going to put a house, it's going to be kind of in here. It's just kind of,
All right,
it's tight to that.
Sure.
I don't know if those neighbors are here.
We have
but
a 30-foot front yard plus a road before we get to the
Gotcha.
people to the south.
Can this be positioned differently, because this is kind of a fun one for you.
I just want to go through this, that change had no effect on what was the front of the lot line. This was, the lots off of these dirt roads, off of Hazelwood, they were never considered flag lots. They always came in to get road review. And the front yard was always, we have many of these that are out there, the front yard was always the dirt road. It was never intended for anything else, even in the subdivision. I believe during the subdivision that they even discussed the fact that there was a small building envelope, and I think the builders...
I was on, of course, that, I was on the board back then. I remember, that much I remember.
Right.
I own a house on Hazelwood, I know what this is.
Attitude.
I think you described it as that they were considered flag lots.
No, I just said they were never considered flag lots. And if you look at, we have many houses long before the 2016 change that were built on here, and the front was always the front here, and they're up and down all over the place, and if they were too narrow, they'd have to get a variance. I'm just saying, they're not considered flag.
Well, we're here for the variance because it's too narrow.
That's correct. When this was
Well, gotcha.
constructed, it was considered a-
What I was saying is if the issue is the 18 feet in the back, we can probably make that bigger and make the front yard smaller. Because the front yard then has the width of the street before.
Where's the 18 feet in the back? Oh, this is different. So this plan is different than the survey?
See,
Yes. I guess, I don't know what that plan is.
Yeah. No, I was looking at the 19 feet, that's it. 18 feet.
all right, we saw that before, once it's 18, let's just make it.
Right.
We go with the smaller one. So,
So you're suggesting
So we could,
The whole house
perhaps we could move the house 10 feet forward. Or we have 30 plus 18 is, that's somewhat 50, so if we were
What do you-
25 and 25.
50-foot wide house?
No. I'm saying we have 30-foot front yard and an 18-foot side yard, if we were to more balance it.
But the house is like 50 feet deep, looking at it. 51, 2, is that what I'm looking at?
That's
Huh?
Yep. Yep.
they're pretty narrow down in Palm Point.
What's that?
I said they're pretty narrow down in Palm Point.
Yeah, you know when you get,
Yeah, well, this is a long way from.
well,
This is as far as you can get from Palm Point.
And it's about
Yeah, it is
6 times bigger than the lot
yeah.
size, so. Well, the house has got some width there, but it's, the rest of the house is really a garage.
well, yeah, I understand all of that, but you can make this a little bit less intrusive on the neighbors, because there's some height in there. It's more than 50-foot variance that's looking for the rear yard. You just want to go back 10 feet, it's still 25%. And that's holding up.
Well, if we saw, I'm talking about swapping 10 feet in the back to the front, because we do have the whole road. The architect is here, maybe she can talk a little bit about why the house.
The
designer.
That'd be great.
Designer, sorry.
Come on down, let's talk about this,
Yep.
okay? Is she,
Nancy Dwyer.
Nancy, you've heard our concerns so far about
Yes,
this?
I have. What we can do is, this front roof line, it ties in, of the garage, it ties into the front porch. So, and that was the reason for shifting the garage towards the rear yard a little bit more. But what I can do is work off of the back roof line and shift the garage forward. And it will create, what I'm trying to do is maintain a courtyard in the front yard off of Morris Court. But in order to satisfy the rear property line, what we can do is just create a little bit of jog in the driveway and pull it towards the front. And then what we were also trying to do is, by keeping it closer to the rear yard, we were trying to maintain the integrity of our front yard setback. But if the board is willing to honor moving it closer to the street a little bit more to address the concerns of any neighbors in the backyard, I think that would work as well. We just have to be mindful of the septic system. We don't have too much room that we could move forward to Morris Court.
Nancy, how many square feet in the home?
The home is approximately 2,400 square feet, plus the garage. So overall, the
It's
house,
2 stories, though, right?
that's correct,
And it's
yes.
2,400, 2 stories?
Plus the garage, yes.
Okay. How many bedrooms?
4 bedrooms.
Okay.
Certainly the house is oversized for the property, it's 18,000.
Well, we can,
And
Quarter of an acre roughly?
the way we did,
it's 18,000 square feet, almost half an acre.
the way we did originally present this on the lot was that it was basically turned so the house was facing west and facing Hazelwood as the front yard.
But it's not now.
Well, that's the intention. It is, but it's not at the same time because of the way we have the courtyard set up. The front door does actually
I see.
face Hazelwood.
I see what you're saying.
I see.
The garage faces Morris.
Right.
How far are we talking about if you were able to move the house forward? It's just, Now you're talking about offsetting the garage.
Well, if we offset the garage,
few feet
there's
there,
6
few feet
feet.
here. I think we have to be mindful of the neighbors. I don't want,
If we offset the garage towards the front,
Right.
then we gain 6 feet in the rear yard.
okay?
And then if we move the house even closer to Morris, even if we move it 4 feet, then that's an additional 10 feet to the rear property line that we've just gained.
So now you're
20 feet, right?
29 feet and 20 feet to Morris.
Approximately, yeah.
No, we're only 4 feet closer to Morris, so we'd be
Oh, the garage is
26,
gonna be-
because the garage is shifting within the
And the
envelope.
house could come down.
So the property that's to the west,
Yes.
that house is actually closer to Morris Court than what we're proposing for the new one, right?
So that was lot number 1 in the subdivision.
So character of the neighborhood, right?
This house that's directly opposite or directly south of us on this lot, on Morris Court, that house also, their front door faces Hazelwood, so we're kind of maintaining the same look of the neighborhood and uses the eastern property side of the house as their rear yard.
I think you probably want us to take a look at this a little bit more.
I think so. I think so. And you understand our concerns with this. We haven't even heard from the neighbors.
Gives a lot.
I guess that's what everybody's here for. That's one of the crowd.
Mr. Chairman, could I just ask one question on this? Because I know the applicant wants to, give some character to the house, and that's important in the neighborhoods, but, for instance, a 30 by 40 colonial is 2,400 square feet, just as big as this, and if it was 30 foot deep, that would be 70 feet from front and rear yard, a 40-foot conforming front and a 30-foot rear. Now, I'm not suggesting you build a box, but, and I understand you don't want to do that, but simply if you turn this the other way, and then you could still build off there with the garage and add character to it, it just seems as though you're doing something that's extremely deep, and that you could still get, a 30-foot wide house is a very wide, comfortable colonial, and you could still get something there and have as much as a 30-foot rear yard and a 30-foot front yard. A 40-foot front yard. It just seems as though by putting that, the way you're doing it with the depth, really,
Well, the house is 30 by 50. So.
Right, so the actual
The issue
bulk of
is
the
that
house
it's
is
just
just because
oriented.
we're
True, but it's
creating a
oriented.
separate mudroom and a garage, we're just trying to
Isn't there
create.
a way to keep some character in there and turn that and do 30 by 40 and then do a porch and a connection to a garage and still have plenty of room to do that?
So I think what Paul's saying too, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the property, it's, I'm looking at different plans, but this is 45 feet, right? The house proper, right? And right now, the way it's sitting on the lot, it's kind of working against the lot. Because the lot is wider
Sure.
than it is deep, right? Is that what?
Yes, right.
That's basically the same.
We could what you're saying is basically take this part of the house and turn it so that everything is running along to the house. And while that works for the setbacks, it doesn't necessarily work for the actual using the lot as a living space as a whole. Because what that would do is turn it so that where the pool is located, it's now connected to a bedroom and a bathroom, as opposed to creating it as an indoor-outdoor living space
We
on
haven't
the whole
gotten to
property.
the pool yet.
But that was the intention for why it's turned the way that it is.
I got it. And our job is to just try and work with you to minimize the variances
Sure.
that are necessary for this.
Yep.
So I think
While
we'll take,
keeping the character of the neighborhood.
While keeping the
We're not overbuilding, and I think that we'll come back and show.
I think that this is on time, I agree with you on that, yeah,
Okay.
I don't disagree with you on that one, that you're not overbuilding it, but it might be, what I would like to do right now? I'd like to take a minute, a couple of minutes to listen to our neighbors that have sat through our hearing, and then we gotta come back.
Sure.
How's that sound?
It's fine.
Okay?
Thank you.
So, we have people in the audience, I'm assuming that you're all waiting to talk about this application. So, I would like, who would like to go first? Great, come on up here and
So Mark Coles, I live at 6 Gouldy Street.
Okay.
So I live in one of the existing large structures in the neighbourhood.
Could you show us on this?
Yeah. I'm just off of the bottom here. This is 6, this is 3, and I'm adjoining here.
So you're on the,
I'm on the south side of Gouldy Street. Virtually identical lot. John Flores, I think, has submitted a letter. He's my neighbour, and we've spoken about this. Both of our houses are 2850 square feet. His has 6 bedrooms, 5 bathrooms. Mine has 5 bedrooms, 4.5 bathrooms. We think that that is kind of very large house for the lot. Maybe the plan's been updated here. What I saw on the planning file came out about 3,500 square feet for this house with the upper and lower level. Maybe it's been changed, I don't know, when I looked at.
You just probably heard the applicant say that the house is going to be about 2,400 square feet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
Then plus garage, so that's,
That's
I'm not
fine.
counting
But then
that
how
as
does that,
living space
how does that
as
tally with what's on the planning file right now? I look on the planning file, I see first floor main living room, 1580. First floor front entry porch, 247. Second floor main living space, 1382.
this is,
And the bonus room at 420 comes out 3629.
Because they're unfinished living spaces, those are just, they're
Florist is
remaining
the neighbor.
unfinished, uninhabitable spaces. Those additional areas.
talking about square.
Well, it sounds like you've got some
Why is
work
it
with them to make the house slightly smaller. Why do we need such big, large interior unfinished spaces? in that
right,
house?
I guess you're quite a ways away, aren't you?
No, but the thing I'm concerned about, for instance, there's a lot behind me that they are trying to currently subdivide, right?
I don't know, they're trying to...
Yeah, they are. And
Okay.
you can be pretty sure that someone gets a variance to do this, they'll try the same right behind us.
Well, that's a different issue as far as variances go.
Sure.
You're talking about, a planning board issue, dividing a piece of property or a variance? You're talking about dividing a piece of property or variance for?
No, dividing a piece of property, it's virtually identical lot to what
That's
52 was.
something different.
Yeah. But, I mean, when someone...
Okay, so your concern is about establishing precedent in the area? I
Yes,
just wanted to be
yes.
clear on
Yes.
why you were here, I
Yeah,
guess.
absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay, and so you think that this is too big a house?
I
for
think
that
it's too big a
property?
house for the lot. I think that when you look at 3 and 6 Gouldy Street, that shows you how you can get nearly 3,000 square feet on a similar size lot. That has a 40-foot setback at the back. It has 32 on the front. The paper road was 40 feet. It's been finished to 20, which I believe now is the width that you're allowed to have a finished road. And so you essentially end up with a 40, 40, 15, 15. I think this house is very nicely done. I appreciate the character. I think the development is to be applauded. But I think, actually, listening to you, there's some tweaks here. This can be made to work, and maybe it can be pulled forward a little bit. Maybe the house is too deep, it's 45 foot deep, maybe it can be shrunk a little bit.
Do you have, so your house, you're saying, is how many square feet?
28,
Yours is 28 square feet?
2850, yeah.
And you have a detached garage?
No, it's built in.
And that doesn't count the garage or space?
No, that doesn't count the garage and space in. And then if you look across, I've got,
So theirs is similar to yours in square footage, except for they're counting the garage?
yeah, and this is 6 Gouldy Street.
So but what I'm saying is it's very similar to your size, right?
Yeah, overall, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and we're much more within the boundaries, within the setbacks than what this is. Just feel this house is sprawling. Okay, I think they've done a good job on the north side to stop overlooking when you're very, very close to the lot to the north. They've clearly built the house to look out where it's not going to affect the neighbours, but just concerned about that if this passes. There's lots of smaller houses in the neighbourhood. The economics would start working to knock them down and build something like this. So with some tweaking, I think it can work.
Well, you hear us working on it, right?
Okay, yep, good.
Thank you.
Before we move on to the next neighbor, Nancy, can I ask you what the space, what is the floor space in the proposed house without the garage? So I'm hearing a couple of different.
On the first floor, we have 1380, and on the second floor, we have 1380 and 1380. So 2,600 square feet.
Okay, now, you were mentioning before about, bonus rooms and habitable space and things like that.
Well, there'll be a bonus room above the garage, which is unfinished attic space.
Okay.
Because when we naturally build the roof, we're creating a space in that area.
Okay.
So it's automatically formed.
Okay,
And that's the only reason why I'm saying that it's a bonus room.
Okay.
It's not connected to the second floor of the house. The space is there though,
okay,
within the roof line.
It is connected to the second floor of the house.
But it's not connected to the second floor that you can walk to it from one space to the next. You can only access it from the garage.
Correct, but it's connected to the, it's connected by the first floor. Do you have a copy of this, Jim? This is just showing the second floor, and that's the bonus room, so it's connected to go up here,
okay,
and you'd be right up in the bonus room.
right, okay. Okay, so clearly you've got over 3,000 square feet of, of potentially habitable space.
Potentially, yes.
Right, okay. That's, I just wanted to be clear on that.
Okay.
The coverage here is only at 13 or 14%, so.
Yeah, 13.8.
I don't think it's an issue of the size, I think it's
But just
perhaps an issue of how the
setbacks.
square footage is distributed around the property.
Well, we went through this similar, application on Oak Street recently. It was a little more severe,
Well,
more
it's a tiny lot. This is a lot that's much larger than
Right.
the 15,000 that's required.
No, I understand, but it's,
And we've only covered 13% of it.
right.
So I don't think the scale, the size of the house, I don't think is an issue. And what was just described to you, in the number of bedrooms, the number of bathrooms, the square footage of these other houses, I want to adopt that testimony because it supports that aspect of our application, not necessarily the setbacks, but they're comparably sized houses with comparable numbers of bedrooms and bathrooms. So we're definitely not overbuilding.
I'm not disputing that, but I just think it needs more work as far as how it's designed on the property.
Well, that's always the balance, is
Right.
there's some art and architecture, and we could just build a square box, and that'd be an improvement to the neighborhood? I don't think so.
Let's,
Okay, all right, that's all I have.
Yeah?
Good. Yep.
Okay, we have anybody else? We have other neighbors here, anybody else have any comment?
I mean, I'm Andrew Terry, I'm 52 Hazelwood, so I'm the front house of that.
Okay.
I mean, I love the idea of the character of the house. I'm not afraid of the square footage. I mean, I guess for me, we want to renovate our house, and that house going up in the back only, increases the value, so I don't have a problem with it. I like the idea.
Great. Okay. Thank you.
Andrew, for disclosure, you sold the development lot as well.
I did.
Yeah, right, so you would support it.
Well, why?
All right, no,
Well, hold on a second, you guys.
don't argue with each other. That's not what this is about. If you want to make a comment, come up to the board and make it to the board.
So I'd just like to I'll just make that point. I mean, I think he has a vested interest. He sold the developer the lot.
You made that.
Yeah,
you made that
but
point.
I would think that, it's a small community, there's a lot of things that, you just heard recently, just if you were here the whole time, an architect was representing a client, and they had a letter of support from the neighbor, because the neighbor's gonna go in and ask for the same thing. So it's not like, I think we understand.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. Jim, back to you.
Okay. I think you want us to go back and...
Maybe do. Yeah, I think you take it under advisement, what we talked about here tonight.
Yep.
Okay.
I think that there's ways that we can compact the footprint on the property and help with the surrounding property lines, the
Great.
setback requirements.
You want to talk about the pool while we're here?
Sure.
Because we haven't touched on that yet.
Sure.
Because now you're going to put a pool that's going to be, technically in the side yard?
Technically in the side yard.
Technically in the
So part
side.
of it, I guess, is in the rear yard.
How big is the, 15 by 30?
15 by 30, so it's not a very big pool.
No, certainly not.
And I think there's no tile on there, but it looks like it's 20 feet back. You can't get any closer to that line.
Okay.
Can we discuss character in the neighborhood, maybe with the pool?
Yeah, well, I think there's lots of pools in that neighborhood, so I think that's what the aerial photograph
I
shows.
think, have we ever given a variance for a pool in the side yard back there?
Back there, up on
The
Hazelwood?
Hazelwood area?
That I don't know. Obviously, the two that I talked about in the prior application, we had.
the rear, but that's the front.
Yeah. It's two unique lots in there, okay?
I think they have, I didn't bring it up on here.
This is the opposite house, so this is our neighboring house on Morris, and their pool is back here. So we were trying to do a mirror image of their property,
Sure.
putting a pool back
I'm
there.
gonna find out if they had a variance, I think they did.
Okay.
That would certainly help to get us on that. Okay?
Is this 2022?
Yeah.
Because that's us.
So Jim, so what is your argument for the pool in the side yard?
The argument for the pool in the side yard is that's because of the narrow nature of the lot and the desire to build the house that we're building, that's the space that's left over to do it. And this, whatever the rules may be, this house, this property wants to be developed from east to west. That's the way it's been developed, that's the way the front door is facing Hazelwood. And so this is just a logical progression of the structures. You know, if the neighbor's logical progression of the structures on the lot, if the neighbor to the north is upset by the house, he's going to be even more upset by a pool going there instead, because the pool can go to the 20 feet, or is the setback less for the accessory in the R4?
Like 15 feet.
15, so it can go to 15 feet, so it can go even closer there. In the technical side yard where it is, there's an unnamed street between it and whatever is vacant on the other side, so this really gives the greater protection. If we're talking about protecting neighbors, this is the location that gives the greatest protection, more protection than the conforming location would give, because it is, before I say that, do you have the aerial?
It was up.
Yeah, so, well, it relates better to the house next door, I think, there, than,
If the house was shifted a little closer to Morris, that's something that you guys end up considering, and the pool was rotated the other way, could it be in a conforming rear yard?
we'll have to look at that.
I mean, if you had a 15-foot setback and rotated the pool, it might actually eliminate that variance.
Okay. And still give us the feature.
Eliminate the
Yeah.
variance, minimize our variance.
Just take a look at it. I think it would actually
Take a look
fit.
at it.
Okay?
Look at that.
Yeah, so, you know the drill.
I do.
All right, work on this,
So,
see how we can,
you could put this over in December 22nd.
take December 21st.
I'm sorry, but it is, yeah. You guys are gonna meet, right?
What's that?
You're gonna meet, you're gonna have a meeting, right?
We're gonna have a Christmas party.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just amazing weeks, we're getting to the end of the year. Okay, so I'm gonna make a motion, we hold this over for all purposes.
Neighbors got a pool, because
We're gonna hold it over for all purposes, so.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, folks, you got that, this will be back, we'll be back in December. Okay? All right, I'd like to make a motion to close the meeting. Second by Frank, all in favor?
I had a question about something else. I was here last month about 336 Dune Road.
Rice?
Lit. And subsequent to that, but today actually, we filed a new application to,
Okay.
per your instructions, but we had also had filed a letter last week asking to extend the existing zoning board.
I sort of, I didn't get on our agenda.
So I just wanted to make sure it didn't get overlooked.
I guess it did.
When did that be filed?
It was either last.
The letter, I mean,
It was a letter
I
request.
saw a letter, this wasn't put on our agenda.
Okay, I'll make sure it's on the next one.
All right, thank you.
Okay?
Yeah, that's all right, I just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Jim.
Sure.
Can I ask you a quick question? Is that right?
No, 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 no.
All right, well, our meeting's all closed, to ask you a question.
Okay, yeah, I came in late, and did you guys vote on Rice?
Yes,
Okay,
yeah, the application, the variance was approved the way it was presented last month, so.
Thank you.
okay,
Everyone supported that, as I recall.
right, without the decks.
No decks.
Okay, that's-
As of right now, there's no decks. If he wants decks, he has to come back,
got it.
okay?
Thank you very much.
You sat here for the whole time for that, huh?
Yeah, it's important to me, so if there is a trip.
I'm sorry if I already realized that, I could have asked you in between, so you didn't have to wait all.
Be a gentleman.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is that closed?
Closed.
Have a good night.
Okay, Paul.
Good, Paul.
Professor of science.
Yeah. You know what? It's crazy. Yeah. You saw that too, when Joe asked him specifically to make his argument.
On the turret as well?
Yes, but this one also that those color.
And it's also on the south elevation?
Stops, yeah.
We're looking to find out where you made it seem like it was only in one location, but I'm seeing at least one,
Yes,
two,
behind this,
three,
in the
at
south,
least three locations.
there's a playroom. We don't, unfortunately, we don't have rendering. Yeah, model.
So, do you have a rendering of the entire house? You have different portions of the house.
Right.
Is there one rendering like of the north and the south?
We don't have the south elevation, so, I'm sorry.
Because at the beginning, you said that the materials are quite simple, but I'm seeing wood, wood roof, wood siding, stucco, glass, glass block, um, more wood around the windows. So trying to get a complete picture.
Yeah, elevation is the best out of what you have. Elevation has the most information we have now.
Right, but it doesn't show all of the actual different colors and materials. You have stucco, you have stone.
We can show the material sample of the stucco. So this typical stucco wall would be white with fine textures with a gray foundation covering, also stucco.
So you have white stucco and you have gray stucco.
Just the sliver of gray near the gray. And this is the sample of the window frame by Arcadia.
When you say this is, so the reflects in the minutes, can you describe what it is?
So this is the white stucco.
Yeah, that I got.
Okay.
In the middle.
Window with cosmic gray mica coating by Arcadia with wooden window trim. Those are basically with fascia board at the top and silt at the bottom. And two vertical sides or trimless. So it'll be covered with stucco. And the window trims are painted like this. This one is a Iron Mountain by Benjamin Moore.
Okay, so on that material board, you have 5 different materials, and then you showed us 2 different materials for the wood and the copper. So that's 7. What else do we have? We have glass. We have glass block, it says.
We have glass block in the south. It's 4x4.
That's
Eight-
that's
eight by
8
eight
by
by 4.
8 by 8 there. I don't know, there's a lot going on here.
Stone for the.
Yes, for the chimney and the turret. This is a sample of
Now we're at like 7 different materials, right?
At least.
And the blue, where did, I guess the blue comes into play.
The blue columns,
And,
the painted blue columns, where are those?
folding
I
doors.
don't have the blue sample.
Where are they on the building?
There are 2 blue out columns in the dining room. This is,
When you say dining room, you're gonna have to tell us
this is the
on the
north.
exterior which elevate, the north elevation?
north.
Okay. Where else?
And also the fence between the carport and this landscape. There's a fence between the carport and the pepper. That's also painted with the same blue.
Is it a dark blue? Like, do you know the color?
Like a cobalt.
It's like a cobalt blue.
The garage door?
Garage door is same medium gray as the window trim.
The whole door?
Sorry, which one is the gray? Do you have the metal there or the gray mic? Oh, no, the gray, the Iron Mountain?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't have trouble with light.
To visualize all these different materials, that could be as much as a dozen different materials here, and you don't have a rendering. That's a nice rendering, but it only shows a portion of it.
What's the model? Oh, there we go.
That's looking from the pool.
It's also looking from north. There's one more. That, and this one's approach from the driveway after going through the gate. So that's the east elevation.
Right, off Bayfield.
Can you get us a rendering of at least the north and the south? Hello, who do we have here? Who's in the back?
She's our attorney.
I'm sorry?
Attorney.
Yes.
You are who?
Karen Hogue, hi.
Come on up, I can't hear you back there.
And we can get a rendering together where it may be a little bit smaller, size, but we can get one, do as best as we can to get one on one board so that you can see the full extent of the design.
Yeah, it's hard for us to visualize the.
See the model too? Yeah. I mean, I don't know if that'll help or not, but that's sort of just
the south.
South. Yeah.
Okay.
Uh-oh, there we go.
Tornado. But the model is only showing everything in white.
Right.
Now, your site plan shows the grade going from about elevation 4 up to 10,
Yes.
and then falling off in the back from 10 back down on the south elevation. Do you have approval for the fill?
In the process.
Right, so we, that application, there are a couple of pieces that just still wait.
You don't have approval for the fill yet?
Not yet, no, that is.
Because now the way this, I'm picturing the site from the north corner here, it's going up to elevation from 4 up to 10, and then you have this house sitting up on top of that mound.
Is there a reason for that, for grading it that way, or is that just an aesthetic? Is there,
Full grade, minimum allowable grade. 7 feet. And, the client wanted to have safety margin.
More.
Are you saying that you're at 87 here? Yes, so their minimum grade is 87, and then they have, if you go to report to their 9, I guess you wanted an extra foot, right? Right. Right, so I'm sure that'll all get discussed, the amount of fill as part of the planning board application.
This is happening on the site. You have a tennis court,
We have an existing tennis court which we intend to maintain, renovate, and maintain. We propose French drain all around. New French drain installed all around.
new fence,
New French drain.
new fence also.
Yes,
This is architectural review board,
yes.
fence,
New fence, yes.
French drain underground.
Sorry.
So tell us what's being proposed.
It's gonna be galvanized steel wire fence.
How tall? Bless you.
10 feet.
And then just south of the tennis court is a pool with, looks like a wall,
Yes.
architectural review board.
This retaining wall slash steps retains the soil here. This is application 6.6 of 39.
what's the material?
It's gonna be also the same reason.
And is that before the planning board for a retaining wall?
No, that's not part of the application before planning. They said that we only did go to planning for the fill for the tennis court.
I don't think you could just put up retaining walls.
The retaining wall, that Ron will probably discuss it. I think it is part of your packet, because you're gonna do the tennis court, the fill, retaining walls because of the fill.
Yes.
Yeah, so that, right,
Yeah.
it'll all be.
That ties in together. Okay. And then you have a pool house?
Yes. That's gonna be same material as the main house with the
Which one of the 12 materials?
either table. With this. With the white stucco siding. And gutters and also the that coat.
What's the roof?
Roof is gonna be the shakes,
No metal.
no metal.
Okay. And white stucco.
White stucco with gray foundation covering.
Is that on the drawing anywhere?
Yes, it's on the. It's in the pool house drawing. May not be your package.
I don't think it is. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I don't have it written in there.
Okay.
You
And
guys have it?
It says accessory building. Oh,
you have a detached garage,
This one, yes.
okay? So is the pool house in any drawing? Dawn, do you have it here?
I don't see the pool
I
house
don't
in
see
here.
that. I don't think so. Architectural Review Board. Okay. And you also are proposing one gate or two gates?
Two gate.
Do you have drawings of the gate?
It's in the site plan. Okay.
But do you have the drawings of what the gate
Yes.
is gonna look like?
Drawing of the gate, we don't.
Someone's gonna build it, and he needs a drawing. And we wanna see
Okay, okay.
what it's gonna look like. And so there's two gates, are they gonna look the same? Okay. Motorized gates,
Most likely, yes.
and they have to be at least 20 feet back from the property line? Okay. So there's a number of things here that we need to see.
Okay.
Who do we have in the back?
Michelle Boucher, I'd like to speak.
Want to come on up? We have a letter from Scott O'Brien, 58 Bayfield Lane. I don't know if you have a copy of the letter.
Yes, we did.
Okay, it's dated March 18th. The subject is opposition to the planned design, 49 Bayfield Lane, West Hampton Beach. To whom it may concern, I have owned my home at 58 Bayfield Lane since 2012. The home was renovated after Superstorm Sandy, and we were required to adhere to relatively strict yet reasonable architectural design, maintaining the integrity of the neighborhood. I am extremely concerned about the proposed design of the new construction immediately across the street from my home. I believe the address of the new construction is 49 Bayfield Lane. It is my understanding that the proposed design varies significantly from the traditional design of the neighborhood that creates a uniform appearance and will compromise the integrity and perhaps the value of our wonderful neighborhood. I regret that I'm unable to attend the meeting in person to express my opposition. Please receive this letter as my opposition to the proposed design. Sincerely, Joseph O'Brien. Do you have any pictures of the surrounding area? It's required as part of the application?
Yes, we submitted them with the application, but I also have copies. Property addresses are below.
I'm sorry?
Property addresses are below the
Okay.
photos.
What do you feel about the neighborhood as far as it's on the east side of the street? They're mostly one-story buildings. West side of the street, two-story traditional style homes.
Is that a question for me or for the architect? Oh,
Whoever. Part of our thing is to make sure that it's in keeping with the neighborhood.
I think, one of our late, principals tried to do the layout as a traditional way. But, I think she struggled because the site is up with an odd shape, the corner lot with odd shape. And, she tried to maximize the use of the site for the family. And that's how it ended up in this courtyard like
but what about the style of the house?
In
Like,
terms of,
like we were saying, there are about, could be as many as 12 different materials.
One thing that I've noticed in that neighborhood and on that street specifically, and in our area, is most of the houses, if not all, are shingled on that street. There are examples in our area of houses that are different in design, that are more, I don't know what the proper words would be, but they're a little more creative, with detail, but there's a uniformity because they have chosen materials that are uniform to the neighborhood. Peter Cook did one around the corner, shingle, 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 different shapes, bronzes, there is some metal, but it's not screaming difference, you know? I wondered if you had thought about maybe, putting it in a shingle per se, or a different material, like why the stucco?
To me, this house is very rustic looking. And there is nothing in that neighborhood that has that rustic look. It's quite traditional. And we were told as to what is a neighborhood. If you look to the north, you look to the south, you look east and west, that is the neighborhood. Dune Road, different neighborhood. Maple Street, different neighborhood. So I think you need to give some thought as to the materials that you're proposing. We would like to get renderings so that we can see this in a better form rather than just piecemeal. Okay. Did you have some thoughts, your neighbor?
I mean,
To the
If you-
neighbor.
if
made it easy, my head was spinning.
If you could just do me a favor,
Yes.
give your name and address to Megan.
Michelle Boucher, 44 Bayfield Lane.
And where are you located?
Okay, right across the street facing the tennis courts. Like I said, you made it easy. There is many materials, many colors. I went up and down my block, and that's just my block, and I'm gonna bring. There's like many materials to each house, you have your hardy plank, you have your roof. When we flooded with Sandy, we had to go up, was a FEMA. The board had to pass, we had to follow every code, every regulation. Every color had to be approved. Our hardy plank color, our roof, our retaining wall color. The bushes, how many bushes, where it's going. It was a lot of work, but.
Ms. Bouger, just
We're
address the,
passionate.
address the board.
Well, I figured that.
We've been advised by the attorney that you should.
Sorry. We're passionate on where we live. When you live in a incorporated village, there are codes and regulations you have to follow to keep the quaintness, to keep the look. Now, we moved there I'm there 26 years. They're going up very hard. We went up 6 feet. Our concern is runoff because we flood. A couple of months ago, I couldn't even get out of my driveway. I couldn't even put my car out. I was stuck in the house for 2 days. So you have a house going up that high just because they want to. We're concerned how they're addressing the runoff, the drainage. I want to know what's going from the tennis courts. I have no problem with the tennis courts being there. I don't want to see them out my bay window. But I feel that it really needs to take into consideration the materials, the colors. The design, I have no problem with. It's all the different things going on this house that does not fit. It's not traditional. I agree with so Brian, and we are very passionate about this. We will stick to following this through. We do not want to have a home that's not going to fit in when the rest of us have to comply and follow every rule and regulation and every code that was put to us when we lifted our homes.
Okay. I think it's a similar feeling from the board, and I think one of the issues I have is as this property is sloping up from elevation 4 to 10, it's going to be sitting up in the air, and I think the top of the roof is gonna be higher than any of the other houses in the area. Is that so? I'm not saying the height of the house itself, but the fact that the house is sitting up on a mound. So, I would like to, our next meeting is, I think, April 1 or 2?
First,
First.
April 1st.
By the next meeting, if you can come back to the board with some renderings, color renderings of each of the elevations, the materials for the fence, there's a drawing for the fence. It'll help the board. And you may want to talk,
Materials.
you may want to talk to the owners about toning it down. I'm sorry, Megan, 1 second. The gates,
Garage, I believe.
the garage, I'm sorry, pool house. And how are you gonna fence the property? Or how are you fencing how are you gonna have a code compliant fence for the pool? Let me put it that way. Are you just gonna enclose the pool area?
Yes.
Just the pool?
In addition to the perimeter fence.
In addition to a pool, so we're gonna wanna see all of that. Okay, so you're gonna have you're proposing a perimeter fence that's gonna tie into the gates at the driveway? That's a question. And another fence around the pool? What the materials are, what the height is, and how you're going to landscape so that your neighbors don't see a fence,
Understood. Thank you.
okay?
Thank you very much.
So can we get a motion to hold over this application?
One quick question that I had, so I know that if the meeting is April 1st, when do you need all that information in by?
As soon as possible.
Okay.
There's no advertising, Karen, so they would kind of like it. Let's go with the 26th, if that's good for you guys. This way they have a couple of days to review it.
Okay,
Digital and a hard copy.
right. Okay, and if there's any issue in compiling all that together before the 26th, I'll certainly reach out.
You can always hold it up to the following meeting if necessary. We meet every 2 weeks.
Great, thank
Okay,
you.
thank you very much.
Can we get a motion?
I'll make a motion to hold the new application for 49 Bayfield Lane until the next meeting.
Do we have a second? Those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, Ms. Boucher. Hey, can we get a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
We have a second? Those in favor?
Bye.
Thank you all. Have a
Thanks,
good night.
everybody. How's the traffic?